The ancient legend of the dried fire and the forgotten lake tells a story of a world where a person's soul was a map and the elements were its language. In olden times, when the world still spoke through the elements, there lived a guardian of the right side. He was called Khaled because his will was as hard as glowing stone and his gaze as sharp as a flame in the night. He was born to lead, to bring order to chaos, and to map out the paths of destiny. His gift was to see the logic of battle, to predict the enemy's moves, and to lead people to victory without hesitation. For him, the world was an equation waiting to be solved. But even at his birth, the priests who read the signs on the skin noticed something troubling. The lake marked on the left side of his chest, a symbol of connection, compassion, and depth, was shallow. The water in it shimmered, but rarely rose, as if afraid of the fire that would blaze on his right. So the elders gathered and warned his father.
If the fire does not learn to listen to the water, it will evaporate it, and when the water is gone, the fire will burn alone until it consumes itself.
The path of the fire warrior, Khaled, grew up learning about control and dominance. His teachers were strategists and generals who valued results above all else. They taught him to draw maps, defeat enemies, and turn weakness into a weapon. But no one taught him to ask what price hearts paid. People followed him, not out of love, but from a sense of inevitability, because his will was like a force of nature. His presence was strong but cold, like a flame without warmth, which illuminates but does not warm. Over time, the lake on his left began to shrink. Every victory, achieved with ruthless logic, took a drop from it. Khaled no longer heard the quiet voices of doubt, compassion, and pain. When loss touched him, he turned it into a debt for future repayment. When someone suffered before him, he saw a problem to solve, not a face seeking comfort. His victories grew greater, and he grew lonelier in the fortress of his mind. The drying up. One night, under a starless sky, Khaled dreamed he was walking through his inner landscape. On the right, fire raged, tall, commanding, proud in its power. It lit everything but cast no shadow because it was the only light. On the left, however, there was only a cracked, dusty basin. The lake had dried up. The wind carried not coolness, but hot sand that scratched against the cracked earth. Khaled bent down and saw in the dust the outlines of fish turned to stone and withered roots of water lilies. Then to stone, faint as a last breath.
Power without water gives no life. It only conquers desert.
Khaled woke up with a heaviness in his chest, as if all the cracked earth from his dream lay there. For the first time he felt an emptiness he couldn't conquer with strategy, nor fill with victories. His fire still burned brightly, but it had nothing left to warm. He had become the master of a world where there was no one to share his triumph. In the years that followed, Khaled became even greater in his deeds, and even more distant from himself. His shadow, fed by all that was denied and suppressed, grew and took the throne in his soul. His anima, the guardian of connection, mercy and meaning, retreated, wounded and voiceless, to the farthest corner of his inner world. The central path through which life flows narrowed until only the habit of proving himself to emptiness remained. One day, seeking advice not for battle, but for this unknown inner pain, he came to an old hermit who lived in the mountains. The wise man looked not into his eyes, but at the place above his heart, and said softly,
"You do not lack strength, warrior. You lack water. And until you bend to hear the silence of the dried lake, the fire will consume you from within."
The forgotten lesson. The legend doesn't say if Khaled returned to the lake. It stops at this crossroads, where each of us stands sooner or later. Some claim he chose the familiar path. He continued to win, to build empires of stone and order, while the world around him obeyed, and his inner world became completely desolate. Others whisper that he took the narrow path to the forgotten place, that somewhere, far from the eyes of the world, he knelt on the cracked earth and waited. Not for a day, not for two, but for as long as it took for the first drop of a tear, of a memory of regret to be born. But the wise storytellers conclude this way: he who lets fire dry up water will become strong and alone. He who unites them will become whole. Because strength is in the right hand that acts, but wisdom is in the left that feels. And so the legend is passed down, not as an accusation, but as a warning, as a map for anyone who embarks on the path of power. It reminds us that power without humanity is a fire without a home, and the true axis of the soul is born where will learns to listen to the heart, there where fire learns to warm and not just to burn.